Good morning, fifth grade. I was looking at NTI Day 12, and I thought that maybe some of you all could use some help, so I thought I would jump on here. The first thing that I think would be beneficial for you all to do is draw a place value chart. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And I've made an at-home whiteboard here, so bear with me. We know our decimal place is like a hole in the wall. It never moves, so I'm going to put our decimal here. And that would make this column here the tenths column. That would make this the hundredths column. I don't like the way I wrote that, so I'm going to erase that. This would be the thousandths column. And if you were to need it, this would be the 10,000ths column. So we know the first place value in front of the decimal is the ones place. And then we have the tens place. And then the hundredths place. So the only difference, and I remind our students of this often, between whole numbers and decimals is that there is no ones place in decimals. So it hops straight to tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So the only thing that's different is this ones column here. Okay, so the first thing that I'm seeing is it's asking you to write a fraction as a decimal. And what that means is this 8 here, the numerator, needs to be in the tenths place. So I'm going to draw a similar problem. I'm going to ask you to put 6 in the tenths place. So you would find the tenths, which is here, and you would just simply place a 6. And if you wanted to put your decimal in front and put a 0 in the ones place, that's fine as well. Okay, so let's try another one. This time, I want you to put 72 in the hundredths place. So you would go to the hundredths place and you would write 72. Now we know that when we have more than 10 in any place value, we have to box up and ship out. So then that moves the 7 to the tens place, that leaves the 2, and again our decimal never moves. So you write 72 hundredths in fraction form like this, and as a decimal it looks like this. And again, if you want to put a 0 in the ones place, that is completely fine. So now you can read it 0 and 72 hundredths. Okay? The next thing that it is asking you to do is match word form to decimal form. So we know that we always say and at the decimal. So if you see 7 and 22, I'll make this one tough, thousandths, remember if it's a decimal, it's always going to have that THS at the end. Then 7 and, the 7 tells me and the and tells me that that goes in the ones place before the decimal. 7 and then we have 22 in the thousandths place. So again, you skip the ones column, it's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 22 thousandths. Now we know if we have more than 10, I tell them to box them up and ship them out. So I'm going to box up the 20 and I'm going to ship it out. That leaves a 2 here. And they know if we don't have anything in this column that we need a 0 as a placeholder. And then you can just move your 7 down. So now it reads 7 and 22 thousandths. That is review, so hopefully students don't have any issues with that. If they do, please reach out and let me know. I can assist you further. Okay, let me fix my chart there. The next thing I'm seeing is for students to add fractions. or not fractions, I'm sorry, add decimals. And again, it's very important. Place value is so important when you're adding these decimals and also when you're multiplying them. So I'm going to put a similar problem on my little makeshift whiteboard here as you have on number 11 on your NTI packet. So I see a problem that looks similar to this. So we have 2 and 51/100ths plus 8/10ths plus 1 and 4/10ths. So I'm just going to place these in my place value chart. I'm going to switch colors here and allow you all to see how important it is to line those decimals up. So 2 and 51/100ths. Again, you can put your decimal there, it never moves. 8/10ths, 0 and 8/10ths plus 1 and 4/10ths. Okay? So if I'm adding this up, I'm going to switch colors so that my sum looks different than the rest of my problem. If you're adding this up and you're in the hundredths column, it's 1 plus nothing. So we know obviously that's 1. 5, 8, and 4. I usually try to remind my students to do some mental math and make a 10. So I know 5 and 4 is going to make 9. And if I borrow 1 from the 8, that will make 10 and leave 7. So it's going to make 17. Carry your 1. And now we have 1 plus 2, which is 3, plus 1. And again, your decimal never moves. So our total or our sum here is 4 and 71/100ths. Okay? I do see some questions where students are asked to compare using less than, greater than, and equal to. So we will try one of those. This worksheet is what we call a spiral review or maintenance, just like you maintenance your vehicle by changing the oil and maybe some filters. We do a little bit of maintenance as well. We put a lot of skills together at once and just keep it fresh on our students' minds. So there's a little bit of everything on here. So this is similar to question number 8 that you have today, and I'm going to change the number slightly. And so these numbers, when you look at them, they're very similar. The only difference is this number here has 3 digits, whereas this has 4 digits. And so when we're comparing those decimals, I ask students to also write them in a place value chart. So this is 4 and 1,000th. So that's what I'm going to put here. 4 and 1,000th. And the next one is 4 and 100th. So 4 and 100th. And when you're comparing numbers or decimals, it's just like comparing whole numbers. You want to start in the front with the greatest value and kind of work your way backwards to see what the differences are. So if we're in the ones column, both of these numbers are 4, so far they're equal. Then we move to the tens column, they're both 0, so those are equal. And then we get here, and this is where we see our difference. I have 0 hundredths and I have a 100th. And I know obviously that 1 is greater than 0. So at this point, this number is larger. So we're going to say 4 and 1,000th is less than 4 and 100th. Now, several students might look at this and see, hey, Miss Goldsmith, I believe this number is actually larger because there's more digits. That's not the case with decimals. And I've told them several times, you can add as many zeros to this number as you want, changing the number of digits, and it's not going to change the value. So when we're comparing decimals, keep that in mind. The number of digits does not matter. I believe that's just about everything on today's worksheet. Again, if you all have any questions or need more assistance, please feel free to reach out to me. I've posted my number on our Waynesburg Intermediate Facebook page. I'm also available via email and Class Dojo. So if you need anything, please let us know.